This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
More rewards, more savings. With American Express Business Gold, earn up to $395 back in annual statement credits on eligible purchases at select shipping, food delivery, and retail subscription merchants. Enjoy the benefits of membership with the Amex Business Gold Card. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
You're listening to the Super Rugby Cymru podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, Mr. Rob Rees and John Harris. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
All good, mate. All good, you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Sam. Bit tired, but all right. We're all good.
Oh, there we go. I'm all right. Thanks for asking, John. So, big news. Cup final week. Yeah.
Whee!
So
The Thursday night cup final that everybody wants.
Hey, John, just because you're not in the final doesn't mean you get to throw stones. Come on.
No, I just mean the day.
No.
I'm quite happy to watch a Llandudno Ebro final. Just be nice if it was on a Saturday when I might be able to go to it.
Very true. It'd be nice if it was in the stadium as well. But there we are. We leave that for a little bit later in the show. So we go back to the last round of the group stage fixtures in the SRC Cup. Technically semi-finals for maybe Llandudno and Ebbw Vale. As Rob likes to keep saying it was a semi-final. Semi-finals only work if both teams can go through, but come on. Okay. So, unusually, we had 2 games on the Friday night and 2 on the Saturday. Again, maybe if the Llandudno and Ebbw Vale game were on the both days, it wouldn't have been as annoying. But, again, is what it is. So we'll start with Llandudno travelling to little Aberafan. So, John, were you at the ground? Did you manage to escape on a Friday night?
No, I couldn't, unfortunately. I know the missus was working late again, but she's done for the year now. She's on maternity now, so just in time for the season to nearly finish.
The missus working late. That's normally the perfect time to go out. What do you want about?
Oh, but like I said, I had to put our daughter down then.
No,
He's putting his daughter down. Well, he is desperate to get to Aberafan games.
I know. I did say, we got a camera in the room, so it says she'll be fine. I'll lock the doors and everything, but look, she wouldn't have it.
We're not even 2 minutes in. This has already turned pretty dark. Thanks for that, Rob. But no, it's no excuse, John. Like, literally, when the missus wouldn't come with games to me, and she would come with games, the baby would be in a sling. I would put the sling on me and have the baby. We've done that until she was about 18 months, all of them. Literally, I thought I couldn't go to the Scarlets La Rochelle quarterfinal a few years ago. Literally, like the weekend before, Miss okay, you can go, but you got to take the baby. It's like, yes, had this massive bump on the front of me. I ended up in front of the West stand, so worst seat possible. But also makes sense. You got to take the kids, even at babies. Just chuck them in. I know,
but it was a bit late. Oh, it was 7:30. She's asleep by 7:30. God.
But then she'll sleep through the game. That's fine. I'm happy with that. All right. So onto the game itself. Aberafan, they put up a hefty fight. Fair play to them. 40 points to 33. A finish with Llandudno in the end.
Another high scorer.
Yeah, it's always a high scorer. this is the high scoring league.
Yeah.
We'll come with even bigger ones.
Definitely a high scoring cup. God.
Yeah. So Aberafan, well, yeah, they did come within one score a few times, but I don't ever think the result was in doubt.
Yeah, it kind of felt a bit like that as I was getting the scores coming through because Llandovery raced into quite a big lead. It was reminding me of the Wales-Scotland game, actually, because that was 35-8, wasn't it, at one point? And then this game was 33-7 at one point. So it's, yes, so you're not going to really come back from that against a team like Llandovery, are you? I think Aberafan made quite a few changes for this game. 2 points again, mind. 2 losing bonus points again, which third time in 4 games. And the other one was a losing bonus point. So unless they're just thinking they can just keep getting 2 points for the rest of the season and it'll be enough. They came back well, though. They come back to within a score. I think it was 33-26 at one point. But then Llandovery got a try then. I think that took it beyond doubt. And Aberafan have scored late in injury time then in fairness, to grab 2 extra bonus points out of it. So it sounds like another fantastic game to go and see, involving Aberafan, which usually is. But I think we said last week, is this the best time to play Llandovery, or are they going to come down and want to put that Cardiff result right? And it feels like that's what they did. They've started very strong, going racing into that 33-7 lead. But I think Aberafan didn't help themselves either. There was interceptions, drop ball leading to an interception. So they haven't helped themselves, but that's the kind of game you're going to get as well, I suppose, when Llandovery know they've got to go out there, score some tries, score some bonus points to get that home final. And Aberafan are going out there with nothing to lose because they're already out the cup, so they can just run and attack, run everything, go for, put a show on. And they've done that. So I think I've got a feeling there was a few players rested for knowing they've got some big league games coming up to try and get into that top 6. But I think Llandovery are probably just a little bit too good at the moment. They are such a good side. I think that Cardiff result is a blip. I don't think we're going to see that again this season. And it's going to be, I think it'll be tough for Ebervale to go to Llandovery now and win this cup. But it's a cup final. Anything can happen in a cup final, and Ebervale are excellent. So 2 points out of it, stuff to work on. I guess a few defence coaches are going to be pulling their hairs out on Monday, but I bet the attack coaches are all happy.
Yeah, 100% they are. I mean, I know I'm going back a little bit to that Cardiff Llandovery game, and I know Llandovery got 3 tries in it, but it didn't seem like they really got to second gear. They didn't fire a great many shots, which is unfortunate. And again, in this game, they did race into a lead, a big lead at that, but they let you back in. They were plain sailing, and they really should have done what really strong teams do. They should have just kept pumping and pumping, but they didn't. They allowed you back in, and something obviously flipped when you go back to within a score, and just stretched it out. But all in all, this is a Llandovery side that they know how to win, and I can see them going. Well, they've got to go all the way in my eyes. It's the only way I'm going to claw back out, predict the lead a little bit, because I know Rob is going to go for everywhere. So they've absolutely got to win. But even in themselves, they were quite a few changes on the Llandovery front. I mean, I'm just looking at me like a lot of positional changes. Keane Abraham in the centre in 13-4. I think definitely the first time this season, maybe the first time he's been there. Rob, I might have to come to you to check on that one. But
it's one of those ones as well. He's changed from wing exactly against that Cardiff result, and it was a weird one. I know that they made some major changes up front. It was Gabe Hawley was dropped out, and Garen Williams was dropped out at hooker. Yeah. And you just had that sort of feeling of it was interesting to see. It was interesting to see how this Llandovery side responded, because as I say, it wasn't just a blip of the season. It was the first time in 20 years they'd conceded 50 points at home. And so that's sort of, you don't really know where Llandovery come into that. So like I said, Aberafan had changed a lot. Can't fault them for changing their side. At the end of the day, their focus when they're out of the cup, which is what was their position, is to sort of focus on the momentum for the league and making sure they're in the best place they sort of can be for, I'll say, top six and trying to push into that, top five if they sort of can. But I think Abraham will be quite disappointed because, as John's alluded to, they go 7-0 up, a nice little overlap on the far side, and then two of the next three tries come from an interception on their own 5 meter line. So Abraham within 5 meters there, they actually gifted 7 points. Now, I'll be honest, they should have made the tackle inside Landivry's 22 to prevent that break coming away. And then a couple of tries later, it's knocked on, dribbles into Landivry's hands, and they again go 60 meters downfield. So you just sort of get that sort of sense that it was one of those games. Landivry let in a few soft tries as well. The midfield, the tackling. I don't want to say things are lazy. That's probably been a bit disrespectful to both sides. It probably just didn't go to plan, but it just had that sort of feeling where both sides are nervous about sort of throwing it. You could see that they wanted to play, and it sort of started to come out in that sort of second into third quarter. Landivry started playing some really nice rugby, and then sort of Abraham joined in, just sadly for them a little bit too late. But it sort of encapsulates what we've sort of seen in this cup competition, not just the league, but mainly the cup, where it doesn't matter sort of how many changes you make, and there's been some good quality rugby on show, some high scoring games, and ultimately, some good developments as well.
Yeah. So obviously, Llandudno will go into the final now this Thursday night. From here, Aberafan get a week off, and then they're back into league action. Oh, quite a difficult way to start. Yeah. You got Cardiff coming down to Tag, and then you're away to Llandudno, and then you get Pontypool back in your next 3 games. So that's a tough one for you. But with
a rearranged fixture now with Ebbowvale, because they won't play us on Saturday just because they've got some little thing on tomorrow.
Exactly.
God.
The hangover's still going to be in play, John. That's what it is.
Oh.
Play with an hangover.
Fighting words, Em.
Absolutely fighting with. Well, they're going to be hangover. They're going to have to take at least 20 pints to down this sort of loss. You know what I mean? All right, then. On to the next Friday night game, and we had a cracking 91 points as RGC came down to Bridgend. Fair play, RGC coming down on Friday night. Round of applause for that for starters. But, 49-42 to Bridgend at the end. Wow. I've tried watching the highlights. There's some really, really nice stuff in there. Maybe for 4 passes too, but we won't cast too much judgment over that. So, Rob, I'll come to you for this because obviously you back Bridgend. So give us a rundown.
I think this was the Saturday game, wasn't it?
Oh, I've gone by Pool A, have I?
Gone by Pool A.
Oh, yeah, it was, the 15th.
Yeah. Bugger it. Bugger it. All my Fridays.
We're sticking with the dead rubber. No, I think this is, again, this is the sort of the ethos of a long Aberafan sort of taken into this was, it's 2 sides, a few sort of familiar faces coming back, changing up the sort of, the starting lineups. Both sides, you could see from the off, it was good rugby. It wasn't even sloppy play or mistakes and teams are getting cheap 7 points. It was some cracking rugby on display. And like I said, to score 91 points, that takes some doing because that's literally, 30, try every 4 minutes or 3 minutes or something ridiculous like that. That it's, over the point a minute. And then you start running that sort of rugby, it literally becomes anyone's game. It's what we've said about RGC up at their place, where they've had 4 or 5 games go 80+ points this season already. It's basically whoever scores last. That first score could be crucial because if you're scoring first, it then just does and tallies up throughout the game, and that's pretty much what happened. There wasn't a great deal of a lead pulled out by either side. Neither side sort of controlled it enough, which is probably disappointing for the forwards coaches, I guess, that it got to that sort of stage. But you could see, the loose play around every ruck and the back row was sort of offloading it and get it out. And yeah, fair play. It's one of those ones. If this had been on TV, it'd have been a crack to watch because it's that sort of open flowing rugby that everyone wants to see. And Two sides that sort of there's not a lot to play for now. You're gonna have a week off sort of thing. You need to sort of come back into this and say, well, let's end on a high. You can't now. RGC technically could have. No, they couldn't have gone through. They could have before the Llandovery result. But obviously knew that was all done and dusted by the time they played. So it's good to see two sides trying to put a bit of confidence into them, and I think that's the interesting one. Obviously, RGC are trying to get into that top 6 to avoid that sort of repechage playoff at the start of the playoffs, and Bridgend are obviously trying to hold that top 6 and probably looking to finish 5th. I know it's a bit of a tall order with Pooler with their game in hand, but take what you can from sort of games. Take a bit of momentum, show you can score tries, get your kickers going, because I know Bridgend have struggled with kicking at times this season, which is odd given they've got Ed Howley and Ben Burnell as sort of the two players that have been taking a lot of their kicks whilst Luke Price has been out as well. So yeah, it's probably a good advert for attacking rugby, and that's what you want to make of it. 6.5 minutes the try-light video. And that says it all. That even good games elsewhere were 2.5 minutes and under. This was good rugby, and I think it's both sides went with that intent from the off. It wasn't something that came, and then there was one where RGC clear the lines, they get the penalty at the breakdown from a good chase, and they tap and go, and the attack led to a try, and that's what we want to see. It wasn't 80-meter try in reality. You stack the sort of the penalty, and you lose the kicking game. And then they go the other sort of 30 meters. So that's credit to RGC for that one. But both sides, that what we ended up seeing was actually a really good advert for the league.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we saw much that we wouldn't associate with Bridgend anyway. This is very much the way they tried to play the game. First time this season, they've broke that 40-point barrier. They've come close a couple of times, a few 38s in there. So for them to, really go, full power ahead and get 7 tries, that's just brilliant, regardless of the opposition. So, John, over to you for a final word by your bud.
I'm just so impressed with the quality of the tries that I saw from this game, because as Rob said, we've got 6.5 minute highlight video from this one, which I think that's the longest one I've seen all season. What I liked from Bridgend from this one was there seemed to be a lot of variation on kicks through from the fly off. I don't know who the fly off was, sorry for this one for Bridgend, but a lot of kicks through, chips over, leading into tries, crossfield kicks that very nice.
Harvey Nash with it, I think, off the top of my head.
Oh, right. And the RGC pick for me, I think, was the one Rob said as well, when they kicked it downfield. Bridgend tried to run it back, get a turnover, quick tap and go from the number 8. Out it goes. Beautiful little behind the back pass. And they were in under the post. That was a really nice try to watch. And another one, and one for Bridgend up the other end. There was just a lot of good interpassing. And the support play I noticed from Bridgend was very good in this one. Every time someone broke through, there was 2 or 3 on a shoulder ready to get on the end of it and score the try. So again, probably going to be some annoyed defence coaches on Monday, but what a great spectacle for the crowd. And when people see the results, they go, "God, that must have been a good one," and it was. So even though the cup has felt a bit thrown together for me personally this year, but the clubs have done brilliant, I think, to make this a really interesting and entertaining tournament. So fair play to all of them. And the pitch looked very nice, which I think helped RGC because they're used to that fast track up north, aren't they? And this was just probably game of the round for me. Even though Abraham's was 2 points for them, I've got to mention them. But no, this was a cracker. Sorry.
No, you're fine, but yeah.
Sorry, excuse me.
That's every game so far that he's mentioned on this podcast, including the preview for Ebervale Llandovery. Abraham have been crowbarred in. I'm interested to see how he crowbars it into the Gwent derby. I am.
These are challenges I set myself every week now.
I'll be honest. I think it's quite easy for him to, fork his way in by there, because I've even got a hedge way into that one if he wants. But yeah, so that wraps up Pool A, not the other Friday night game that my stupid brain didn't read the right order of things. But there we go. So finishing bottom, and well done for everyone in this Pool A of the Cup. Cardiff on 9 points with just the one win, probably a shock to everyone. Aberafan then coming to fourth, one win again, 10 points. Bridgend in third, 12 points with 2 wins. RGC in second, 13 points with 2 wins. And Llandovery finishing top, unbeaten, 4 wins, 22 points. So, nice big gap there for Llandovery up top. It was never in doubt. And that does actually mean they get to host the final that we will come on to in a short while. Now, over into Pool B. The first game we will talk about is Newport against Pontypool. The Gwent Derby, because obviously there's no Aberville, so we don't need Aberville, do we? We can
someone's got to battle it out for second best in Gwent, haven't they?
And I'll be honest, I'll open up we don't need to ring fence the SRC. We'll just kick Aberville out, and we'll take anyone. I'll take someone from 6 East. That'll do. I'm only joking, just winding Rob up a bit. I love you, really, Aberville. Okay, Newport Pontypool. So Newport not in a great state, really, going into this one, but they grounded out. They showed a fair bit of class, 31-14 in the end, 14-0 at halftime. They looked fairly comfortable all game. So Rob, as our resident Gwent man, take it away.
Man of Gwent.
Yeah, I think first up, anyone who's seen the highlights, Shea Hope's kick was definitely, not that Shea Hope was the one kicking it, he was definitely in front of the kicker for that first try. If anyone hasn't seen it, go back and watch it. But yeah, it's one of those that a good side, in Pontypool, a good side, have let another good side get too far ahead. I mean, yes, you're going to be disappointed with that initial, conceding of that score, but you find yourself, 14-0 down at the half. Not too far out of the game at that stage, but 40 minutes, you've got to really turn it into it, right? The wind and all that sort of stuff can perhaps give you a bit of a boost to sort of get into it. And I said Newport have been a bit shaky of lately, really. I mean, and even across the season, probably haven't put in 80 minutes. So you would have backed yourself as a Pontypool player here to really get in. And then within 2 minutes of the second half, Newport come out and score another converted try. And it's sort of, whilst the game got busy from there, you always had that sort of feeling that Newport had sort of won the game, which is what they had to do. They needed to win. They needed to go above Abervale, and it forced a result on the Saturday for Newport to sort of not make the final. So in fairness to them, they set out what they needed to do. But it just sort of felt they took the foot off the gas in that sort of last quarter. I mean, you can work your way through. Subs start coming in, 5 subs at the 48-minute mark, and then within 16 minutes, it's 28-14 to Pontypool from 21. So it's 28-14 to Newport from 21-0. So 3 tries in, 12, 13 minutes following an absolute raft of changes on the Newport side. You do feel that the gas was lifted off slightly. And whilst obviously there was nothing in terms of, the league or anything like that, obviously there was something to play for both of these sides because they both could have made the final depending on the result and bonus points. It just had that bit of a feel of they'd assigned themselves to just doing the job. They expected Abervale to win, which is probably true. They probably did expect them to beat Swansea, but you got to push on, right? Newport haven't delivered that 80-minute performance. They haven't delivered that devastating, result like they did to Abervale at home in the semi-final last year, and then another good performance just falling short at Church Bank in the final. We haven't seen that, and this is their prime opportunity. 21-0 over a Pontypool side that, again, have been misfiring sort of since the Christmas period. They haven't consistently drilled any results in and have sort of struggled against the bigger teams. And then you sort of don't really lay a statement down at the moment. No one's turned around after this and gone, yeah, Newport are a top 4 side or Pontypool are that side, they're going to catch them. obviously Pontypool have got to go back to Newport in the league. That one's at Rodney Parade, I believe, actually, which probably helps both sides in the style of rugby they want to play. But I was a bit not disappointed in the quality of the rugby, but a bit disappointed in what it took to make a game out of this.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. And like you said, there was a possibility of both sides making the final, had Aberafan actually, done a job of Llandovery. Obviously, they didn't, so it's kind of a foregone conclusion. But yeah, seeing the score line coming through, 14 at half time, and then he just kept getting away from Porto. Like I really anticipated, especially with Newport coming in off the back of 2 losses. I know both to Ebbw but I really expected Pontypool to, be really tight in this game, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. But like you said, they got to play the exact same fixture again in a fortnight's time, so that's going to be very, very tasty regardless. So, John, what have you got to say, my friend?
Yeah, very similar. I was expecting this to be a bit closer, actually. I always expect. I don't mean that sound harsh, but I always expect a bit more from Pontypool. I feel like they've had a better season.
The smile on Rob's face is unreal.
I feel like they've had a better season than they actually have when you actually look at the results then. But it feels like they've been having a really good season, and they're mixing it up with the top 4. But then we get, when you actually look into it, it's not as I don't know how they're doing it, but yeah, that's a bigger result than I was expecting. I thought it'd be at least be a score. I thought this was going to be a close one, but it feels like Newport were quite comfortable. Sounds harsh, but it does feel like it don't feel like it was really a doubt that it was going to be Newport who were going to win the game in the end.
That's actually a really good point. If you include the league, they're 9 wins, 7 losses across the season, which for a side that we all thought at the start of the season and back end of last season was sort of that top 5 were above everybody else, and Pontypool were a couple of games off the top 4. It doesn't feel that they're just off that top 4, but they are.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, but every time we have to do a prediction for when they play a top 4 team, I'm thinking in my head they're right in there competing with them, which they do in fairness. But I don't just feel like there's more. Should be a bit more from Pontypool, or I expect a bit more from them. But Newport, they are a top 4 side, and because even when they're not firing on all cylinders, they still manage to pick results up. I noticed from the highlights, the scrum started going very well in that second half, which is and you're going to get a test off a Pontypool scrum, so that's a massive positive. And they did their job. They put the pressure on Ebbw for the next day. Meant Ebbw had to go and get that win then in Swansea, which they did inevitably. But they done what they had to do. They got their 5 points, 6 points out of it. So they've gone and put the pressure on. But they can build on that now for going back into the league to try and just finish as high up as they can in that one now. But yeah, I always expect a little bit more from Pontypool.
I'm just thinking, is it game management? I mean, I don't want to use or sort of put them down too much here for the performances, but we've always said it's traveling away or against against the top 4. They're struggling to make those sort of waves. And it's once you look back a couple of results now. They've played Newport and Ebbw away, and really struggled to get going. I think they've both been 6-pointers in various competitions, but they've both been 6-pointers. And that's, you only got to look at it. You can't let a side go 20. It doesn't matter who it is in this. You can't let a side go 21-0 up and expect a result. Never mind the side as good a quality of Newport. I think that's just what Pontypool have probably got to figure out. They've got a really good squad there, and a really good side. The likes of Morgan Allen, Mikey Herbert, Scott Matthews have been terrific players individually. Morgan Loy's come back in at 9. He's probably the best 9 in the league, arguably. I mean, whether some people would go with someone like Lee Reese over that, I get the point. But Morgan Lloyd is probably the most talented scrum half out there. He doesn't have the experience or the nous, but so they've got all these really good quality players, experienced players as well, especially in their back line. Pat Mahoney, Kieran Meek, You know, they've got some really good talent, some really good experience. They just can't seem to hit it when, when the big sides hit their stride. Pontypool haven't seemed to do that this season. They haven't seemed to blown anybody away, and maybe that's just where it is. It's that sort of, are they sitting in that sort of grey matter zone where Bridgend have played a couple of games extra, so they're sitting above, so we don't truly know the extent of Pontypool, but it doesn't feel like they've shown enough this season for me to close that gap on the top four. And if anything, it feels like they've gone backwards slightly from the top four.
Yeah, well, we'll probably touch on this a bit more as we get back into league action as the season goes on. But definitely a concern, looking from the outside in. So that takes us to our final game of the round, down to Swansea, down to St. Helens, to watch what was a pretty exciting game, especially, if you are an all-white, if you are a Swansea fan, going in, what was it, 1912?
Yeah.
Half time, not many people, go in at half time leading against Ebbw Vale. So, that's some credit as well. And, I don't know about anyone else, but I heard there was some, shenanigans then to stop Swansea coming back out and playing proper. But, yeah, Rob, this is your forte. So go on, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of nerves from the Ebbw Vale side of things. It was 19-7 at one point, and then obviously closed down to 19-12 right before half time. But this year, it's that semi-final fever, right? So it's been 27 years since Ebbw Vale have made a cup final, having never won the cup. John, neither have Aberafan. Hey, there's our link.
No.
Carmarthen Quins are the only other side in the league who've never won the cup. It's us, Aberafan, and Carmarthen Quins. So it's absolutely.
I couldn't believe that when you told me that about Ebbw Vale, mind. It just seemed like, of course, Ebbw Vale are a team that have won the cup before. But yeah. But only one final. That was the one that shocked me even more. I couldn't believe that.
And typically, we've never played the final at the big stadium because it's been Ashton Gate in '98 and Churchbank in 2025. But it's that semi-final fever every time. Blown away in two semi-finals last year. We lost. Merthyr had beaten us in a couple of semi-finals. Cross Keys beat us at Rodney Parade on tri-count. It always feels that semi-final is you bring up a world-class performance and then fall just short. So it was worrying at half time that this game was being scrappy, and it was. Swansea Swansea made it niggly. They got into us. They made it a physical game. Where they pushed the boundaries. It was a game management masterclass at times. Whether you agree with it or not, it was. The dark arts were in full flow, and Swansea played some good rugby off the back of it, and that's where Swansea have been sort of caught out this season. They've either played good rugby, or they've played dark arts and tried to disrupt, and then the side has just got on top of it. But this is the Swansea side that is improving. We've been saying it for a long time on the pod, and now they've got 3 wins under their belt, 2 quite recently, and obviously 1 in round 4 or 3, depending on how you want to look at it, in the cup, obviously against Quins, where they actually took control up front. But that second half, I don't know what Jason Strange said to them. It was like they just calmed down. They played the game plan again. Hat-trick of tries once again from a hooker. I think it's the 3rd or 4th time this season an Ebbw Vale hooker has scored a hat-trick. Definitely the 3rd time. Joe's got 2, and I think Yaya Morris has 1. And it's the Maul again. Absolutely disrupting them. Winning the play, winning the penalties. Winning the breakdown in sort of the open play. They kick into touch. There we are. Mark's done the stats. It is 3. So it's one of those ones you just felt then it started going, but it was one that you couldn't really shake off. 19-19, 26-19, and then it just sort of, even at that stage, it was a bit of a pause in the scoring before the next score and the final score sort of came, and it was nervous, but it's good to see that such a young squad now. And Jason said it's in his interview with the WRU in the week that they played 50-60 games together now as a unit, and you starting to see that. Yes, it's going to be a big ask up at Llandovery, but we'll come on to that sort of game in a bit. But there's a lot of positivity around this sort of side in the performance. And then what they need to do is just sort of take that out. So yeah, there's a lot to take from this for Swansea. It's certainly, like I said, this is not a lull or anything like that. This is very much a next step. This is a good Ebervale side. Let's kick on from here.
Yeah. So, like you sort of touched on, but there is it showing that there is possibly still signs of a mental frailty within Abu Vale? Like, obviously, they've got to have won some form of cup competition in the past. I'm not saying they haven't, but like I said, getting over that line is difficult, and this really technically wasn't a straight knockout game. They could have just ended up with a bonus point and gone through to the final. So it was. There's still a question there. I think needs to be answered, and it'd be great for them and possibly the league if they could answer it. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm feeling. I do feel a bit gutted for Swansea because, like you said, they have been on a good run. They have managed to get a few wins on. And we know Abrava and Quins twice, obviously once in the cup, like you alluded to, and they seem to pushing on. They seem to starting to know what to do to bring teams to their level at least, or to get them into a position where they could possibly win. Obviously, Ebervale way too much quality, but they showed they can. They can do it over 40 minutes. If you can do it over 40, you can certainly do over 80. So that's a positive for Swansea. John, final word?
Yeah, definitely positive for them because they've never had a problem with scoring nice tries this season. They've been doing that really well. We've got some teams up. I think that Ebervale driving maul is just ridiculous at the moment. And they've got the size in that pack as well to force these penalties to get in these positions. And if you watch the highlights back, even if it's on the 22, they can drive that maul in from 22 meters out and get a try from it. You've got to be so disciplined, I think, anywhere around halfway there, 10 meter, because you can't give them an opportunity to kick into your 22 because they're going to score a driving line out from it. I thought Swansea would front it up quite well, might as well from what I've seen from the highlights. They were looking very physical in this one, which we said at the start of the season did look like a bit of a weakness up front. Obviously, showing we'll just had that little too much probably in the end. But I think there's definitely positives for Swansea to take from this and stuff to build on because with Llandovery, Ebervale, probably if I need to say form side after Llandovery's in the Cardiff game, sorry to go back to it again, but that probably was their blip. Ebervale looking very good now. I think if there is going to be, that's probably the best final you could have, and that's probably the best team to go up there and try and beat Llandovery on their ground at the moment is Ebervale because they play him very good. So I'm really looking forward to the final now.
Yeah, why not?
Sorry, Matt. I think one good thing here actually to say about the Swansea side now they fronted up is it probably doesn't tell a true reflection. Ebervale did score, was it 3 more tries or was it four actually I think it was because Dylan Bartlett scored off a back one. But if you actually look at the mauls, it wasn't like it was up, down, maul across the line. The Dylan Bartlett one to end the game was actually quite good. They managed to get Dylan out initially. He comes back around.
Yeah,
they stalled the mauls quite well. And that's a good sign. That's a sign of a team that's quite confident. They've obviously got the physicality, maybe just a bit of confidence, a bit of expertise now, and maybe a bit of experience that they're lacking up front, which is sort of what we've said is just what sort of held them back from stopping that maul. And interestingly, we'll touch on this in a minute. I know the Llandovery maul defense against Aberafan wasn't overly convincing. So this is where it's going to be a really interesting battle.
It really is. So that does bring us to the end of the group stage of the Cup. So if we look at Pool B, so Quins finished bottom, 0 wins on 3 points. Swansea one above with 1 win on 9 points. Pontypool in third, 2 wins on 11. Newport second, 3 wins on 18. and Ebbw Vale finishing undefeated on 21 points and on to the final. So this is the halfway point. So as always, if you've made it this far, thank you. Please share, like, subscribe. Just tell a friend. Do as you want. Talk to us. We're happy to have a comment every now and then. Okay, so on to this coming week now. So there is a league game that we need to talk about, and it's probably going to be really, really short because I think we've got something slightly bigger, unfortunately, to talk about, and that is Pontypool at home to Carmarthen Quins. Now, we've all said Pontypool got a bit of work to do to knock on that top four, but coming down to it, when you're playing Carmarthen Quins, a team that hasn't won this year, that hasn't won since November, I believe, they've got to be expecting 5 points per year, if not 6. So, John, I'll come to you first on this one.
Yeah, it's got to be, really, isn't it? I think they started the season fairly well. I think we were all saying at the start of the season that RGC and Carmarthen were a bit of they were the surprises at the start of the season. They were playing some very nice stuff and impressed us all. But Carmarthen, they've just been very disappointing so the last few months. They can't buy a win. And 2 losses to Swansea as well. So even though they might not, Swansea haven't gone above them in the table, but I feel like Swansea are above Carmarthen now in my mind, if you know what I mean. So I can't see anything other than Pontypool getting probably 6 points out of this one. They're always a different animal on Pontypool Park. And I can't see where Carmarthen are going to get they win from at the moment. And I certainly don't see it coming up there against Pontypool. So I'm going to go, for me, this has got to be a Pontypool 6-pointer, and that'll probably guarantee them 5th in the league, I would have thought, at this point, because I can't really see anyone catching them at the moment anyway. Aberafon are on the same amount of games as Pontypool, I think. Bridgend, I don't see Bridgend catching them, or RGC, because they've both played an extra game. So this will probably be the one that just cements it. But yeah, Pontypool, and it's got to be all 6 points, I think. I don't think Carmarthen going to find it hard to get anything out of this game.
Okay, Rob, what about you?
Yes, exactly the same thoughts around what John has just said. I think Pontypool have had their pitch now lying nicely for a couple of weeks, get the surface back. We've had some decent weather, so if that sticks around, what Quins have shown recently is they can't handle packs anymore. That's what's losing them games and keeping them out of games. And Pontypool have more than equals that threat. And then a good day at the park, yeah, the boys are going to go out and put a few tries out there. It wouldn't surprise me to see this being a 40-pointer. 6 points. I think this is probably where Pontypool do seal that top 5 and make it about sort of the rest of them fight it out over the one. But I think it's certainly somewhere now they need to kick on where they did in the last 20 minutes against Newport, show some of that rugby, get a bit of confidence, get a win into them, because they haven't got too many of those consistently this side of Christmas, and sort of build on it from there. This is the opportunity now. This is where they're going to close the gap. It is basically the sort of the off week, cup final week, so there's only that game in the league. You'll sort of get a better idea, I guess, of where they are in the table, because the games and points to game ratio now is starting to equal the other sort of teams, so they'll start going and sort of chugging their way through, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my head says the exact same thing, I'll be honest, but my heart says that Quins have got to come up with something. There's got to be a spark somewhere. Look, I'm looking through some of the players that they've got brilliant players. I know we say this for other teams. You look at the players in that team, and they are great quality players. It's a case of just stringing performance together. I mean, obviously, like I'm backing Quins for the sake of it, for the sake of the predictor league that I need to do more, and that I want them to win. I want to believe they can win. So that is my point on that. In actual fact, getting them over the line, I don't know, they've got a good pathway. They've got a good youth setup. Maybe a couple of boys coming in from there. I would love it if someone like Carwyn Leggett-Jones could just turn up, get his first senior games of men rugby and just knock it out to the park like. But I know obviously you got Wales under 18s to contend with and all that first. But yeah, that's where that is. Okay, the big one, the major one for this week. It's on a Thursday. We're not happy about it. We're not going to talk about it from now on. Okay, let's just be positive and just go just for the cup final. I can't see Llandovery winning by any less than 30. If I'm honest, it's just such a walkover. No, this is going to be a major game, an absolute belter. I'm glad it's on TV. Reasons for being on TV aside, it's going to be a belter. It's going to be a great advert. I can see it being a proper tussle. Llandovery are still hurting from losing the Shield, getting the double done over them. They're not used to that, and they've got the added salt of losing to a Cardiff team like that quite recently. So, seeing the squads that they've put up, there's a fair bit of change from this past week for Llandovery. Cian Abraham moving back onto the wing, Jack Davis, Roger Jones, Ed Scragg, and Taylor Davis all coming in. Ed Scragg and Taylor Davis, I think, are huge in terms of the pack. They really are. I know Rob just spoke about Llandovery's maul defence, and I think those two players just improve that exponentially. So, John, you're the neutral. Let's see what the neutral man says about this.
The neutral is very much looking forward to it. I can tell you that for now. They're probably the two best teams in the league, I think, at the moment. Obviously, it's a case of Cardiff and Newport because the top four is so far ahead of everybody else. But I think at the moment, these are the two top sides in the league. It's going to be physical, I think. Obviously, this is two packs that can go toe-to-toe with anybody. So the first thing they're going to try and do probably is batter each other, which we all like to see. That's what we're here for. Being at Church Bank, I'm leaning towards Llandovery. But if there's someone who can go up there and get and turn them over at the moment, it would be Eberville. And I think it'll be that. If they can stop that maul or keep the discipline, so they don't even get into the positions to get those mauls going, which Llandovery usually pretty good at that. The discipline, I think. And I backline wise, I think Llandovery have a little bit more behind the scrum, which not to say Eberville don't. I'm just saying I think. I've always been a fan of Llandovery's backline. They've always seemed to be, just quality and class. So I can't wait for it. It's going to be physical. I think it's going to be fast. And especially on that fast track up in Llandovery as well, on that pitch, which I really wish they'd done the rugby lines mined in white and the football lines in yellow, because every time I watch highlights from that ground, it really confuses me, because you're automatically drawn to the big bright white lines, which are the football pitch. So, but yeah, I'm thinking Llandovery are going to edge this one, but it's going to be close and it's going to be good. But wouldn't be surprised if Eberville can sneak it as well. But I'm going to go for Llandovery in my prediction.
You are 100% right, John, to go that way. We know it. Rob really knows it. He's just not going to say it. But no, you've hit a key point there.
Well, don't worry, I was going to pick Aberravon to win this one. Don't worry, even though they're playing it.
Okay, no, you've made a really good point there. A key for Llandovery will be stopping Ebu's forward pack, especially the maul. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think Llandovery have got more behind the pack, but if we switch over to Eberville, they've had some timely returns of their own. I know I just mentioned Ed Scragg and Taylor Davis for Llandovery, but then you've got Cam Davis back in the centres, and you've also potentially got John Evans on the bench. We haven't seen him in a very long time. And if you talk about a man with cup final experience, he won the Pro 12 with the Scarlets back in 2017. So, that type of experience is invaluable. So, Rob, I'll let you run away with this now.
Yeah, do you know what? This actually does have the ultimate big game feel now. I think we've mentioned who Llandovery have got back, and it sort of fills in the gaps that they've sort of probably had question marks over. And it's similar for Ebervale. Like I said, Cam Davis coming back into midfield, sort of John covering scrum half with Griff going off injured against Swansea in the first half last week. Ryan Jenkins coming back into the fold. There's a lot of sort of confidence here. There's a few boys back from injury in the training group, so there's a good vibe around ending the season on a high. Obviously, a lot of talk around the club's, first final in a generation. I mean, Jason Strange, the head coach, was playing in that other final when we last sort of made it this far. So it does have that sort of feeling that everyone's at pretty much full strength. It's going to be interesting to see how certain battles are countered. Obviously, Ebervale like to play the territorial kicking game to try and get them all going. You're kicking towards Jack Davis, which is always an interesting one. He had a good game against us in the semi-final of the Cup last year at Aberavon's ground, John. Hey, we've crowbarred him in again.
Hey.
So yeah, there's going to be there's individual battles, but also the sort of the tactical element that I'm really interested in seeing, and I think will the difference maker be Llandovery have had to juggle a few around in the pack recently to find that sort of that perfect melting pot at sort of set piece. And whilst we know, Taylor Davis, best part of 20 tries, and him was it the season before last, or might have even been last season as time flies. It was last season, wasn't it? Thinking about it.
Yeah,
it was last.
It was last season. I know. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking. Like I'm really happy Taylor Davis is back for this Atoka, but I really had my heart set on Harry Thomas just coming back in with a 6-day turnaround and going, you know what? I smashed the sights on Friday. I'm going to go win a cup final on the Thursday. Let's go and do it. But yeah, this is going to be epic. This is a massive game, and you talk about the tactical element. I'm having a look at the benches now, and obviously Ebervale being funny buggers as they do. They've named what? Bloody 9 players, 1 extra. So we don't actually know who's going to be the 8. I mean, we can try and work it out as best we can, but that's just a strange tactic in more ways than one. So,
do you know what? I think this, strangely enough, will come down to the strengths of the bench. I mean, you sort of look at it and it's you're trying to sort of pick weaknesses. Ebervale have got a lot of experience on the bench. Cam Regan over 200 games for the club. Lewis Young 150 odd games. John Evans, as you've already mentioned, has won domestics with the Scarlets when he was there. Has a lot of professional experience. So there's a lot of experience on that bench. Llandovery maybe don't quite have as much on the bench as they have in years gone by.
I'm going to say they don't have as much experience. They've got excitement. You got Ian Morgan, George McDonald, and obviously the tactical nous that comes with Jack Maynard.
Yeah.
I know all 3 of them are backs, but Ian can create something out of nothing. And, he is an X-factor player. I'm quite surprised that he's, in an SRC environment. I thought he would still be within the pro game, if I'm totally honest with you. But, I think that's more what Llandovery have in exchange for experience, which can't be counted out, obviously.
So yeah, I think this is definitely one of those 23-man finals. It's, as you say, they are the 2 best club sides in Wales at the moment. It probably sets them up really nicely. And I think the message for a lot of people, well, on both sides this week has been, let's put the arguments of the Thursday night annoyances to one side and just get out and support the sides. There's already a couple of bus loads already full for Ebervale to be going up, which I think for Thursday night is fantastic work. Obviously, there's a lot of to be driving to this one from both sort of clubs because of the sort of the awkward timing and nature of it. But there should be a really good atmosphere. Naturally, with this, my faith and optimism in Ebervale finally lifting the cup is shining through. I genuinely think this is a good time. I think there's a side that's on the up, plenty of experience, but a side that's sort of still quite young at the core, but they playing together week in, week out. Some timely returns. I mean, Matty Jones as well, ex-Bristol Academy on the bench. He's come back in after not featuring for a few games. So there's a lot to this, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll definitely be making the trip up and hopefully,
and a beautiful day tomorrow as well. So it's going to be nice, warm, nice and sunny. Well, not sunny by the time the game kicks off, obviously, but if get up there early when the sun is still out and it's still warm, and have a few beers before the game kicks off. Put some money in the clubhouse, innit?
Yeah, but
make a day of it.
We're obviously desperate for a beer, so the gates open at 6, and if you account for an hour and a half on the bus, the Ebbw Vale's coaches arrive at 5:45.
Well, I'd be taking the day off.
So there's gonna be a bit of a queue outside those gates, ready to be going in. The bar's gonna be prepped.
Yeah, that could be intimidating. Okay, we will end on that point. Gents, thanks for joining me and talking crap for an hour as we normally do. Everyone who's listened, thank you for listening. As always, like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Super.
That was the Super Rugby Cymru podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
They got Willa. They got my daughter. I need to find her.
From acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson.
You can save that girl.
Today, experience what is being called the best movie of the year.
This is the end of the line. Not for you.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, Chase Infinity.
Let's go! Here I am.
One battle after another. Now playing only in theaters. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
You can't hide.